Welcome back to Close Up. This is going to be an election season unlike any we've ever seen as the sacred process of democracy works around a global pandemic. Here this morning to talk about how the primary and general elections are going to work this year is Deputy Secretary of State David Scanlon. Thanks for joining us, Deputy Secretary.
Yeah, good morning, Adam.
So for starters, the crucial question a lot of people are asking right now, how do I obtain an absentee ballot?
The way to request an absentee ballot is the same that it has been in any election. Very few of the laws have actually changed that would change that process. What is different this year is that any voter who is concerned about COVID and going outdoors to the polling place can use that as a reason to request an absentee ballot. We have made a very significant effort to prepare the ballots early this year. We expect that they are going to be delivered to town clerks beginning next week, and they will be readily available far in advance of the election this year. So to help ease the burden of an increase in absentee voting, which we expect to see happen, we would encourage voters to get out. If they know they're going to vote by absentee, request their absentee ballot early. When they get it, vote on the ballot and return it. And by doing so, we spread that process out and we make it easier on our local election officials when it comes to election day and being able to process everyone's votes.
And you mentioned sending the ballot in. When should I send in an absentee ballot? And what are the deadlines for making sure it gets in and gets counted?
So a voter can request an absentee ballot this year. There was a bill that the governor just recently signed, House Bill 1266, which places on the request form for an absentee ballot the specific reason of COVID-19 as an excuse to request one. A voter can actually request both the primary ballot and the general election ballot on the same application form. Once they get that in, the town clerks will mail them out promptly as soon as they have the absentee ballots that we're shipping to them. Once the voter receives the absentee ballot, they should promptly fill it out and get it back in. The deadline for returning an absentee ballot is 5 o'clock on the day before the election in person, if they want to deliver it to the clerk in person, or on 5 o'clock on the day of the election if it comes in the mail.
And what does the state normally see in terms of absentee voting rates, and then what is expected this year?
Typically, we see roughly 10% of the votes cast are cast on an absentee ballot. Our expectation is that that percentage is going to increase. It is difficult at this point to say by how much. Our neighboring state of Maine just had an election, primary election last Tuesday, and their absentee balloting was up, but there was a range from community to community, anywhere from 5 to 75%. We are tracking the requests of absentee ballots for absentee ballots that are being made in our ElectionNet system, which is our statewide voter database. As clerks, as town and city clerks receive requests for absentee ballots, they enter that information into the database. So we can see, certainly on a weekly basis, the trends in absentee voting. At this point, we see between 6,000 and 7,000 absentee ballot requests have been made for both the primary and the general election. That certainly isn't overwhelming at this point, but we would expect as we get closer to the election and the fact that the absentee ballots are now readily available, that those numbers will go up.
When it comes to counting the ballots, I know there have been some temporary changes in the law in terms of what folks on the town and city level can do to pre-process the ballots. What is going to happen to ensure that there aren't necessarily backlogs of absentee ballots that need to be processed on Election Day?
With the bill that just passed, House Bill 1266, there is a provision in that statute that for this election, the moderators in the town can pre-process absentee ballots on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Monday before the election. That will give them the opportunity to receive the absentee ballots that have been submitted, to open the outer envelope so that they can see the contents inside, contents being the affidavit envelope, which actually contains the absentee ballot. The moderator can make sure that the information that is on the affidavit is complete. If it's not, there's a chance that the voter could be contacted and say that you forgot to sign the affidavit. If you can get in here and do it, we'll be able to count your ballot. Things like that will have an opportunity to be corrected. The absentee, the affidavit envelopes will not be opened. The absentee ballots will not be pulled out. They will not be counted in advance. That process will wait until the election day. But by being able to do certain things in advance of the election, it should help the actual processing of the absentee ballots on election day go much smoother.
Now, the base of poll workers in New Hampshire and across the country, unfortunately, overlaps heavily with at-risk groups for COVID-19. They tend to be a little bit older. Are you seeing any drop yet in volunteerism or willingness to sign up to work the polls this year?
We are certainly concerned about that and the high-risk population that we have working the polls. We have actually done a survey of the cities and towns in the state to kind of gauge the attitudes in each towns, and we're actually encouraged that 2/3 of the respondents have said that they plan to work at the polling place, and that they are either not concerned or somewhat concerned. And there is obviously a population of poll workers that are concerned enough that they don't want to work the polls this year. The state has taken steps working with the cities and towns to provide personal protective equipment at the polling place, which means that there will be a generous supply of face masks available. The poll workers will get KN95 masks. There will be surgical masks that will be available to voters that come into the polling place that don't have protective gear. There will be plastic shields placed in front of the ballot clerks, the supervisors of the checklist who may be taking voter registrations, and the moderators who are receiving the ballots at the ballot counting device or receiving the ballot to put in the ballot box. So it is our intent to make sure that especially our poll workers are properly protected. There'll be all kinds of hand sanitizer, antiseptic wipes so that surfaces can be wiped down. There will be single-use pens and pencils that are provided to the voter so that the voter can simply make their marks on the ballots and keep the pen or the pencil. It will not be used a second time. We are providing, I'll call them placemats, which the voter will be able to put on the voting booth counter and then place their ballot on top of that to be able to mark their ballot without having to touch the surface. And then that same placemat can be used as a privacy shield for holding their ballot when they go to put it in the machine. The ballots are going to be short this year. They're going to be 8.5 by 11 so that there were fewer creases in them for the absentee ballots. They should go through the optical scan counting devices much easier with fewer jams. That's important for a smooth process.
All right, Mr. Deputy Secretary, and quickly as we wrap up here, if people are interested in getting an absentee ballot, should they just contact their local city or town clerk?
They should contact their city or town clerk and make the request for an absentee ballot. Again, if a voter knows that they want to vote by absentee, ask for it early, vote on it early, return it, and by doing that, not only are you helping yourself get through the process, but you're helping the poll workers do their jobs at the polls by being able to spread that workload out. Again, even though we have this crisis, this COVID pandemic going on, we encourage every voter in the state of New Hampshire to exercise your right to vote. And we believe that you will be able to do it safely and have your vote counted.
All right, Mr. Deputy Secretary of State David Scanlon, thank you for your time this morning.